The Supreme Court may actually give Sanity a win, which is kind of wild when you think about it in our modern culture. Sanity. How we've missed you. And then people are really surprised as to how much is actually how little rather is required to vote in a democratic state. And it seems like their ICE agents are making a huge difference in the airports. And it's crazy as to who broke the story on how much difference they were making. And I don't think you know how much you can really hate someone to want them dead until you hear the story of this guy. And believe me, it is wild. It is so wild. You're going to want to hear the story. Let's get into it. Welcome to The Ripple Effect. So, first off, the Supreme Court seems likely that it's going to make a judgment on a case here where they're going to finally tackle the mail-in ballot problem of California and other states, basically saying that if you're going to vote with a mail-in ballot, it has to be put in, gotten in within the 24 hours of the actual election day. Like we have this election day for a reason, right? You're supposed to go in and everyone has this idea of election day as you go in, you drop a ballot off, and then you're good to go. But that's not what ends up happening. So, long time ago, back when I was a wee lad, there was the whole issue with Gore and Bush, right? And Florida, let's just say, got into some hot water with regards to how much corruption was going on and how the votes were continuing, and it was a whole mess. So, long story short, they now have a system where basically by the end of the election day itself, you know where Florida stands, which is just very impressive. Very, very impressive. Not a small state, and very, very impressive. But some places like California, this can go on and on and on. And most times it goes on until, let's just say it goes on until the Democrats get the votes that they need. And whereas I'm not actually saying, of course that they are, using it to cheat or anything. I would never say that. They would never do such a thing. But yes, of course. But this judgment that the Supreme Court is handing down seems to be implying, from what we're getting, that they will nail it down to just the election day, and mail-in ballots will have to be in and counted before that point, because it doesn't make sense. I mean, the mail-in ballots is for a reason, and like the whole Save America Act, Save America Act is pointing out this fact. It's like those are the exceptions. There shouldn't be the rule. The rule should be you go in person. They should be requiring something of you to vote. Voting is not just something that should be handed out easily. And the reason why is because there needs to be some kind of game. What am I trying to say here? There needs to be kind of skin thinking. There needs to be some skin in the action. Okay? You need to require something of them. And when we make it so easy, sometimes we make it extremely easy to cheat, which is part of the problem. Now, there's a clip going around of Stephen A. Smith being shook. I mean, being shook. If I was better at this whole video editing thing and stuff, I would show you the clip, but I haven't figured that one out yet, so I've got to get into it. I got OBS, and I've been trying to use it. I've got to get it figured out, but eventually I will. I know it's probably why my channel isn't growing as fast as it should, but it is what it is. But Stephen A. Smith was shook when he found out that California does not require voter ID. And then it was even more surprising to him that not only did they not require voter ID, but in fact, it was illegal for any of the election officials to actually ask you for your ID, meaning that it's not just that they don't require it to vote, they can't even ask you. Like they're prevented from literally asking you that. And so what does this teach us? This teaches us the very reason why this channel is so important, because what you think are small channels and that don't deserve to grow sometimes, those are the very channels that might find a niche, and probably will find a niche of people that aren't interested in the other channels, aren't interested in the big channels, and where they can hear the truth. And we found out that the more, and we know this, the more truth that they know, the more it truly affects them, and people become less liberal. It is 100% true. This is why Charlie Kirk works so hard on teaching people about abortion, teaching people about transgenderism, teaching people about the world. And these people would go up and ask him questions, and he would stand there and he would show them just how little knowledge they have and just how much more is available. And it would just blow them away. And they'd walk away sometimes totally changed. And that's why it's so important to help these kind of channels to grow. And again, I say it over and over and over again. If you don't like me and you don't like my channel and you don't like my jokes, right, then go find another channel and push it. Hype it. I guess they have another thing now where you can hype a channel and do that. Now, ICE is making such a big difference that CNN, of all people, had to break, and the guy was actually astonished who was reporting on it. He's like, yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, these lines are great. And he was talking about how the lines have been reduced to something like 45 minutes, which, honestly, it sounds like a normal TSA day on like a bad day, just like a busy day. 45 minutes sounds like what you would expect. So great. Obviously, that's wonderful. And what kills me, and this is something that wasn't common knowledge, and I didn't know this, but apparently ICE is trained on a lot of the same equipment that TSA uses. And it kind of makes sense when you think of their immigration and custom enforcement, and they work very closely with Border Patrol. It makes sense that they would have some of the same knowledges. In fact, many of them are even trained on the same X-ray machines and all that kind of stuff. So they can literally step into the gap, fill the gap. Now, this is not a permanent thing, obviously not a permanent solution, but they can step in and really help. And it's really making a difference because they know that. Don't let the Democrats lie to you and tell you that ICE has no clue and is not trained and has no knowledge of how to deal with these kind of situations. They do. In fact, they have been trained in these particular situations. And as we proved the other day, that TSA is not always the best itself. They may even be improving it. Who knows? Now, here's the funny question for today. How much hatred do you have to have in you to want to murder someone? Okay? Pretty good amount, right? I mean, you can hate someone, you can just be very disgusted with them, but to kill them, right? To go that far. Like, you really have to be really hating them. Now, how much more would you have to really hate them to figure out a way to kill somebody when you have no legs? Okay? So now you have no legs. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking of someone in a wheelchair and you're saying, well, okay, I guess there's ways of doing it. You just roll up in your wheelchair and okay. Right. So you'd have to have an extra level of hatred to be able to be willing and capable of overcoming those obstacles. Okay. How about if you don't have any legs and you don't have any arms? Yes, you heard me. So the headline is that a legless, armless cornhole champion was arrested for murder. Okay, so I got two questions. One, how does he play cornhole? My second question is, do they put handcuffs on him? And I know it's terrible that we're making fun of him. It's a funny situation, okay? It's a funny situation. They're like, yes, we caught the murderer. He's over there. What is he doing? He's actually winning at cornhole. We don't know how he's doing it, considering he has no legs and no arms. But man, he is good. And I will admit, I am not good at cornhole. I don't play cornhole, so good for him. I guess he's doing pretty good for himself. Now, the story each day is that there is a right and a wrong out there. And that's why we have the ripple effect. The ripple effect is for a reason. And 132 of you thought it was worth subscribing to. And I appreciate that in more ways than you can possibly imagine. We need to keep getting the news out there because it is continually getting worse and more obvious of who the bad guys and the good guys are. You can see Israel and us versus the Muslim world. And what happens when we invade a country versus when someone like a Muslim country invades. We can look at October 7th and all the rapes and murders and everything that was happening there. There's also the illegals versus our citizens, where whenever there seems to be an encounter between illegals and Americans, someone ends up dead, like Lake and Riley, and the new young lady that was just killed. Her name was Sheridan Gorman. And I wrote that down because I wanted to not forget these people because it matters. But we continually see the good and the bad. And then you can see the Democrats versus Republicans. Democrats and Republicans are holding up the shutdown right now, right? And everyone can get all upset and say, well, the shutdown and right. Okay, it's overfunding for ICE. Not really for ICE, but for DHS, okay? Department of Homeland Security. Because they want to defund ICE. But why would you want to defund ICE? Remember, when we got this whole mess, ICE was rounding up a bunch of people that were not just illegals, but also illegals that were committing fraud, committing major felonies, and so on, and were just being let to loot and continue doing all their stuff by the Democrats. And the final warfare that we see is between Christians and the libs. And when you start nailing it down, the one particular group that no one wants around is the Christians. Because why? We believe that there's a truth that's out there, and that truth is found in the God's word. And surprisingly, I just got this massive Bible. It's a really good study Bible, but someone gave it to me. My pastor gave it to me. But the things that you'll find in there are this. When you're a Christian, there's truths that we live by. And those truths are a rock of stumbling and a rock of offense to the rest of the world. And they don't want any part of it. And they don't want any part of you believing it, because if you believe it, then it challenges what they believe. And we have to make a difference out there through our beliefs in the Bible and through our understanding of how the Bible applies to our culture and our politics and how we need to preserve a country and a place for our children. And that's why we have the ripple effect. And I would like it to become bigger. I'd like it to become more enjoyable, more fun, where more people can interact. I would like to start doing live streaming so we can have an interaction live with people that are watching the channel. That'd be a huge blessing to me, but we have to grow to be able to do that. And part of that is feedback. And I appreciate your feedback. My mom gives me some fun feedback, and she always gets mad at me for calling her out in my channel. But if you don't have a mom to call out in your channel, or if you have a channel and you don't call your mom out, then obviously you don't have a great relationship with her. So my mom did not like my candles behind me, right? Because she said it should have made my head look weird because I had the thing. So I put this corner piece in here, right? And I have a gift that my wife gave me of those books. And I don't have a lot of decorations because honestly, the channel's not making any money, so it doesn't put a lot of money and effort into a design behind me. Be a lot, but I know I'm describing. I apologize. I brought this piece in. I promise it probably will not stay here because I don't know what I would do with it. But it was the first piece that I ever gave my wife when we were dating. It's a funny story. We were moving, and I got this thing. Not me moving. I was working for a moving company. And let's just say that piece was a nice corner piece, and I thought it was amazing. Right? I'm like, this is like antique. It's like beautiful. It's like gorgeous. And couldn't find out it really wasn't. It was like vintage or whatever. But a piano was not strapped down in the moving truck. It was a junk piano. We were throwing it away. But it crashed into that. And I spent in my dorm room days gluing the 54 or 55 pieces of this back together again after it had been smashed by a piano. And so we have it, and I didn't know where to put it because we're kind of decorating our kids' room. And so it is right there. And so Mom, you got to tell me. All that to say, Mom, you got to tell me, are these candles okay? And you can put it in the comments, guys, if you think those candles are okay, because you're supposed to have light behind you. I just don't have a light behind me because I don't know what to buy for it, okay? I'll be honest. So, long story short, what do you guys think? Put it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and listening to my nonsense. Have a good day.